Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Aimee here. Today we're going to wrap up the month of July. I was able to get about 10 and a half books in for last month. Or maybe I should just say 10 books because 2 of the books were like little novellas. I physically read 3 out of those 10 and listened to the others on audio. I'm a huge audiobook listener, reader. I love listening and reading along to the book is my absolute favorite, but I can't always do that. I usually listen to my books while I work. It just helps me get through my work day, and I absolutely love an audiobook. I don't know why I'm saying that. If you've been here, you know how much I love an audiobook. All right, so let's get into it. I started the month off with Riley Sager's newest book, With a Vengeance. I actually don't have a physical copy. I do plan on getting a physical copy, even though it was not all what I was hoping it would be. Although I didn't really have high hopes for this one because it is set in like 1950s, early 1950s, I think 1954 or something like that. And it's set also on a train. So like an isolated thriller. It's a revenge type of story, one by one. I did rate it 3 stars. There was a point in the book where I got really interested, but there were too many other parts where I just kind of drifted and wasn't really paying attention to the story, or the story just didn't grab me. The ending did get a little better, and then things just didn't go well for me at the end, I guess. I don't want to give too much away. But anyway, we follow Anna. Anna lost her entire family, her mother, her father, and her brother, due to different circumstances, but she blames 6 people for their deaths. So she invites those 6 people on this train. Now, the reason that we're on this train is because her father was the owner of said train. So she is taking these 6 people on a journey to Chicago. That's really all you need to know. I don't want to give too much away, but like I said, it's a one-by-one kind of story. It's also a revenge kind of story, but Anna was not planning on this type of revenge. When people start getting picked off one by one, there's obviously a killer on the train. That was not part of her plan, basically, but like I said, it kind of grabbed my attention in some spots, but for the most part, I was pretty bored with it. So yeah, 3 stars for this one. It was just okay. Let me know in the comments how you felt about this Riley Sager if you have read it yet. I do encourage you to read it because, you know, not everybody's opinions are the same. So if you are a Riley Sager fan, definitely read it. I will always read a Riley Sager book, no matter what. My first book of his was Lock Every Door, and I absolutely loved it. It's still probably my top favorite read from him, but this one is probably at the bottom. Maybe I can do like a Riley Sager roundup. Let me know if you'll be interested in that type of video, or I can do like from my top Sager, or from my bottom Sager to my top Sager kind of video. Let me know if you'll like that, something like that. I physically read Make Me. This is by Aimee. 5 stars. Absolutely love this story. This is a male romance. Definitely on the darker side. All of our characters have their own personal backstory that makes them the person they are today. We have Ronan, Logan, and Dakota. Ronan is actually an ex-cop. He was a detective, and he mostly worked with children that were affected by assault. I'll just say that. It really did a number on him personally, and his mental health. He wanted to help these children get justice, and the system just wasn't doing it. So he decides to take matters basically into his own hands and sort of become a serial killer of pedophiles. Then we have Logan. Logan is actually a tattoo artist who sort of has the same concept as Ronan, and they they first meet and come together due to an incident that Ronan, or someone that Ronan was taking care of at the time, that Logan also had his eye on. Logan is also sort of a serial killer slash tattoo artist who is out for the bad guys as well. So we'll just say they sort of form forces. And the majority of the story I found was of these two characters, because there's definitely a hate to love situation between these two guys. Ronan doesn't really associate himself as anything but straight, and Logan is a gay man. And Logan has a backstory with his best friend that makes him out to be the man who he is today, and he sees a lot of his friend in Ronan, and this is what attracts Logan to Ronan. So they sort of end up together, but in this fight between each other, it's funny. My light just went out. I'm not sure what happened. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. It sort of has a lot of humor to the dark side of the story, and then eventually we get into Dakota's character. Dakota is a cop right now, or a detective in the story when he meets Ronan and Logan. Dakota also has his own little backstory, dark side that has happened to him that makes him want to do the job that he's doing. With all the three characters getting together is much of a slow burn as far as like the interest between each other comes, but all the characters together I absolutely loved. Definitely check your triggers if this is a story that you want to get into, because there are a lot of dark topics in this story, especially those of my light keeps going out. But anyway, we'll just continue. Hard topics to read, so definitely check your triggers. But it's a very good story. It was written very well. I can't go on without mentioning Buff. Buff is a stuffed animal that you will get to know and love throughout the story. I'm not going to say any more about Buff because I want you to learn about Buff on your own if you want to go into this story. But Buff, he's a stuffed animal, but he has my heart. I absolutely love him to death. There was a moment in the end of the book where I was just sobbing due to Buff's part of the story. But anyway, I absolutely loved it. I'm rambling on about it. 5 stars. I'll stop now. Then we have Good Pucking Luck. This is by Riley Hart. This was read by Tim Page. This was a fun read. I gave this one 4 stars. It's just your basic contemporary sports romance, if you can tell by the title. This is a hockey romance. We have Hayes and Rylan. Yeah, Rylan. I keep wanting to say Riley, but it's Rylan. Hayes, actually, you meet Hayes right at the beginning of the book. He and his current boyfriend are at a hockey game. His boyfriend loves hockey, so he figures this is the best place for him to propose to his current boyfriend. Things do not go as planned. It's out there for all the world to see because it's on, they've put it on the big screen for everybody in the rink to see. And yes, this is where the title of the series comes into play. This is the first book in the Jilted Exes series by Riley Hart. So there's a story about that, the Jilted Exes Club, basically. But after this happens, Hayes just decides he's done with serious relationships. He's never really went out there and just had fun. So that's what he wants to do. He just wants to find someone he can have fun with. And this is when Rylan comes into the picture. Rylan is a hockey player. They were actually at the game that Rylan was playing, but Rylan does not know who Hayes is. He goes to a bar just to get out for the night and find someone himself to have fun with. He runs into Hayes. They have a great time together. Rylan goes off to play the best game of his life. So Rylan being a hockey player, they have all these good luck charm things. So he's he's got it in his head that that Hayes is his good luck charm. So they sort of keep playing this little game between each other. So it ends up to be like a friends to lovers type of story. But it was really cute, really fun. I love the jilted exes, and yeah, it was just a fun story in general. Just from after reading a good bit of dark romances lately, this was sort of like a palate cleanser. Then I picked up The Inmate by Frida McFadden. This was read by Leslie Howard. I do believe Leslie Howard pretty much narrates all of that I've listened to so far, Frida McFadden's books. But anyway, I gave this a 3.5 star. I love Frida McFadden's writing. It's just easy to get into. It's never boring. My star ratings, I guess it just depends on how the story goes, how things end up going. Just because I gave it a 3.5 star doesn't mean that I didn't like it. I really did like it. It probably had potential for a good 4 star. But anyway, in this book we follow Brooke. Brooke is a nurse practitioner, and she lands a job in a prison as the prison's nurse practitioner. And in this prison is where her ex-boyfriend is at. And she's the one that basically put him in prison. Her testimony is the reason he is in prison. And now she is at this prison as a nurse practitioner. And yeah, so we actually do have 2 timelines in this story. We get to hear Brooke's story from like when she was in high school, when she was dating, what was his name? Did I write it down? His name is Shane. Shane is the guy she was dating in high school. And so we go back to Brooke high school days, her and Shane, and then timelines sort of meet up with each other as to what happened and why Shane was put in prison by Brooke. How did that come about? As is with Frida McFadden's books, I did not know where this was going. I had all kind of ideas in my head. We also have Tim, who was Brooke's best friend back in high school. So there's a little bit story there. Tim kind of comes back into her life when she's older, and she goes back home is basically what happens into her little small town, of course. And this is why she's looking for a new job, kind of wants to start all over. She gets a job at the prison, and then of course she runs into Tim because Tim's still there. He never left the small town. So we get their story, her and Shane's story. It kind of just all melts together into what actually happened that fateful night when she or I guess when Shane was arrested. It was fun. I never got bored. I had a great time with it. The audiobook was fantastic. The ending was kind of like all over the place, as is with Frida McFadden and her plot twist at the end. But I kind of wish it would have ended maybe a little bit better. Although I did like the ending, it was still a good read. Another Frida McFadden I picked up, this is Death Row. This is just a little novella. It's like 76 or 82 pages. Well, I don't know why I have 76 and 82 in my head, but it's a very short story. All you need to know is that we follow a woman named Talia, and she is on death row, in prison, on death row for the murder of her husband. Yes, the murder of her husband. But she says she didn't do it. That's all you need to know. Talia takes us through her everyday life leading up to the moment on death row, and then we also kind of go back another timeline to hear her story to as how she got where she is, and that's it. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's all you need to know. But the ending, when I finished, I didn't know what I just read. Like, I gave it 4 stars because it was just like, what? But again, really fun. Frida McFadden, she keeps you in the story. She keeps you on your toes, and then at the end you're just like, what did I just read? Then I listened to another Riley Hart male romance book. This is Risk the Fall. I gave this one 4 stars. I really did enjoy this book. This is Riven and Parrish's story. Riven is just getting out of prison. As we are in present day, we do go back to, or does this book start us off with? Yeah, the book kind of starts us off with how Riven got into prison, and then we go back, and then we start with present time of Riven getting out of prison, just dead set on getting his life together and trying to focus on not running into the people that he used to run with, I guess you could say. So he basically was running with the wrong crowd, and he got into some serious trouble when he thought they were his friends, but they really were not. And then we have Parrish. Parrish is actually the brother of River's old best friend. So this is the scenario where Riven does not want to have anything to do with those people, with Parrish's brother or his father, because those are the 2 people that got him where he ended up. But Parrish has also always had a crush on Riven growing up. That crush is sort of still there, but he too does not want to have anything to do with Riven because he thinks Riven, you know, did this thing he went to prison for. So yeah, so the story is just getting to know these guys individually, and then for those guys to get to know each other individually. Riven actually ends up working for Parrish, and that's how they make their connection, and how Riven is trying to stay away from not only Parrish but his family, and Parrish also doesn't really want anything to do with his family, but he also really doesn't know anything about what happened with Riven, so doesn't want any part of that either. It's just a lot going on. It was definitely more of a darker side of a Riley Sager romance, but I was here for it. I really enjoyed the story of these 2 guys and their sort of, I guess, hate to friends, friends to lovers story. And as I said, I did listen to this. It was read by Cale Williams, and he did a fantastic narration for both these characters and just the story in general. Moving on to another male romance, another one by Riley Hart. This is On the Mountain. This was narrated by Zane Daniels. Fantastic narration. I gave this one a 3.5 star. It started off with a bang, and I was really into it and felt like this was a romance, a contemporary romance where I have never read this sort of scenario before. So I was really into it, but then the story just kind of, it just kept going. It didn't like really go anywhere. I sort of got bored with it, but I did enjoy the ending. I'm glad these guys got their happily ever after, of course, but it's like it started off with a bang and then it just kind of faded off for me. But it did kind of pick back up in the end when, you know, they got their happily ever after. But anyway, we have Crow. Crow grew up in a cult. So there is a little bit of a background story with this cult that Crow grew up in. And this is all he knows. He was born into this cult. This is all he knows. Things go down, and Crow has to go live with, or he has to be with foster care until he's at least 18. But as Crow is not your normal like 17, 18-year-old guy, because he doesn't know the outside world. He doesn't know how to communicate with anybody. So he is mute. It is his choice to be mute because he doesn't trust anybody. So he's just not expressing himself other than coming out as sort of like they call him the mountain man, if that tells you anything about Crow. And then we have Cyrus. Cyrus has his own backstory. His mother, I think she died of an overdose, but he loved his mother. She loved him. She just had an addiction. So Cyrus didn't grow up with the best background, even though he did love his mother. got into some situations that didn't help any. So he decides to start all over and move to this small town, do right things, do good things. And then he comes across Crow and basically comes to Crow's rescue, because there are people in this small town that don't understand Crow and sort of bully him when he does come off his mountain, because you know he needs things. He doesn't have everything up there. He's gonna have to come down for a few things, but when he does, he usually gets bullied. So Cyrus comes to his aid, and this is how basically they meet, and this is where their story begins. And it is it is a good story. It was very interesting, but then it just kind of hit a point where it was just, you know, it was just a love story between these two guys. But it was just two difficult characters and two different type of characters that I've ever read. So, but anyway, it was fun. I had a good time with it. Definitely very spicy, very sexy. So there's that. I had fun. It was a good time. Back to thrillers, then I picked up That's Not My Name. This is by Megan Lally. I gave this one 4.5 stars. So in this story, we have a young woman who wakes up on the side of the road and she doesn't not know where she is, why she's there, or who she is for that matter. She's picked up by a police officer, and then this man shows up and he's saying that his daughter is missing, and he's giving all this information that this young woman is his daughter. He doesn't know she's at the station. He's just, you know, she just went missing, and now he's just reporting her missing. But then they see each other, and he's got all the proof that she is his daughter, Mary. So she ends up going home with this man. So we have that story, and Mary's just trying to figure out, she's trying to remember as she goes through the steps with her so-called father. She's trying to remember anything that she can. And then we have Drew, I think. Yes, Drew, who is in high school, and his girlfriend went missing. And of course, he is the prime suspect to her going missing. So we have that sort of backstory. Or is Drew's girlfriend and Mary the same person? We don't know. We have both the stories going. I really enjoyed it. It was very fast paced for a YA thriller. It was really good. Like I said, 4.5 stars. It was just something about the ending that I didn't really like. That's why it didn't quite get a 5-star for me. But it was still a really good read. Okay, I had to take a pause. My camera stopped working and my light went out. Chaos when you're trying to film. But anyway, here we are, we're back. Let's continue with my July wrap up. All right, The Missing Half by Ashley Flowers. I thoroughly enjoyed this. 4.5 stars. Didn't quite make it to a 5-star for me. I can't tell you why. There's just something about it that just felt like it wasn't quite a 5-star, sorry. But it's definitely up there. I had a really good time with it. Didn't see what was coming, didn't know what was coming. Yeah, really good book. I loved her first one. I love this one. It was narrated by a Saskia Morclevel. I'm probably butchering that. My apologies. The narration was fantastic. I enjoyed it. We do hear from Ashley herself as well in the very beginning. I think she does the prologue. Is there a prologue? I'm sure there is. Missing Half. Yes, there's a prologue. So in this, we have Nicole and Jenna. And Nicole and Jenna's sisters both went missing sort of around the same time, around the same MO. So they basically joined forces to figure out what happened to their sisters. Jenna is actually the one that approaches Nicole, or Nick, and sort of forces Nick back into that world of wanting to know what happened to her sister. And the further they dig, the more information they find that was never brought up about the cases. So it was very good, very interesting. Love the whole like missing persons and sisters looking for their sisters. Quite the twist at the end. It was really good. And then lastly, Count My Lies by Sophie Stava. This is also a 4.5 stars for me. So we follow two women in this book. Like there's the first part and the second part. First, we're following Sloane. Sloane is a pathological liar, basically. She's got a lot of stories going on. In the beginning of the story, she's working as a nail tech, and she goes to the park and she runs across this father with his child, a daughter, and she gets stung by a bee or some sort, and like Sloane goes to their aid and like tells them that she's a nurse. So she knows what she's talking about, basically. A little further on to the story, Sloane meets the guy's wife while she's at the park. The wife, his name is Violet. So we have Violet's point of view later on in the story. These two women are, yeah, they're a pair, let me tell you. I had a great time with this. The narration was excellent. Yeah, I didn't see it coming. It is worth the hype. Lots of people was talking about this book and how good it was. It was definitely very good. Why it didn't make 5 stars for me, there was just something about it, and I think something in the end, towards the end, that it just didn't make it quite a 5 star for me. But it was still a fantastic book. But I forgot to continue kind of telling you about the book. Violet basically hires Sophie to be their nanny, and since she is a nurse, Violet figures like she's the perfect candidate to work for them and to take care of their daughter. So yeah, it becomes very interesting, and it was quite a ride. Like I said, I loved it. So that is my wrap up for the month of July. Let me know in the comments what you read in the month of July. Have you read any of these books? Yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. Hope you're all doing well out there. Hugs from me all around, and I'll see y'all very, very soon with a new video. Bye, y'all.